mean, that is really, really cool. So today we're checking out Unstrung by Fallout Music Group, which is a neat little effects library that's really aimed at the tension and horror genres. There's a lot of string manipulations in here, a lot of raw string manipulations, I should say. The sounds are very, very raw, which is really cool. And there's a lot of one-shot samples as well.
Hey guys, it's Don here. I'm going to jump in real quick. Unstrung was just released, and when Raborn did his review here, he had a pre-release copy. I've got some details I'm going to give you right now. It's a live string horror and tension effects library based on string samples and effects. It contains samples of knocks, plucks, ricochets, drives, and grinds. There's a rhythm engine, a risers engine, and a whooshes and hits engine for the full version of Contact 5.8 or higher, and all of the samples are included as WAV files. The library normally sells for $99, but is on special intro price for $69, and I'll include a link below if you want to jump over and watch all the official videos or pick up this library during the special intro price.
You'll see that there's 3 different contact instruments that we have. We're starting out with patterns, there's also hits, and there's risers. So the patterns engine, this is probably my favorite one. It's this really neat little, really rhythmic engine that you can use to create all sorts of interesting patterns. You can see that there's right here the active steps that lets you choose how many steps you want to make each of your patterns, anywhere from 1 to 16. And you can also select for each one of those steps what sample you would like. So you can see I think there's 250 different samples, so a whole lot of stuff to choose from. Everything from banjos to violins. I mean, just a lot of stuff. Plucked, knocked, you name it. And then you'll see that for each one, you've also got a randomization control, pan control, a little preview button, so that you can hear what it sounds like. You've got some effects, which we'll go over in a little bit. But let's go ahead and just dive right in. Well, first I should tell you, the orange keys are each one of the samples individually, and then the green key, when you hold it down, it actually plays out the sequence. So let's start with the orange keys, and then we'll play the sequence. And you can see on each one of the steps as well, you have the ability to select how long you want that step to be. So right now we're set at all 8th notes. All of this was done originally, I think, well, actually we'll get to that on the risers and hits. That it matters a little bit more on the BPM there. But obviously this syncs to your DAW's BPM as well. So let's go ahead and hold down the sequence and give you an idea of what you have. I mean, that's really cool. And what really, to me, what makes it really fun is when you start doing some randomization. I always love it when a developer includes randomization in their library, because it just, you end up finding things that you would probably never find on your own. And what I really like with Unstrung is that they've actually given you all sorts of different randomization options. So you can randomize all the categories by clicking here, and you'll notice that all these have now changed. You can say, okay, I want ricochets and I want knocks and plucks. I don't want dives. So I can click that. And to give you an idea of what a dive is, let's see, that's 4 notes up, I believe. So that's a dive. So it's a string manipulation. So I'm going to say no dives. And you'll notice that now I don't have any dives, but I have all the other categories. That would sound like this. And you can say, okay, now I just want plucks and knocks. Click that. Or I can say, okay, take out everything except for plucks, knocks, and ricochets. And then there's some more randomization options at the bottom. You can randomize the tuning. When you do that, You'll see here that the tuning goes like right here, I'm down 2 octaves. Here I'm down 1 octave. You know, in some cases I'm going up over an octave or even over 2 octaves. So you can see that as well. And you can also randomize the panning here, which can introduce some really interesting effects, and also individual randomizations for every one of the steps. I mean, just really, really cool. And then when you start introducing the different effects in here, you have distortion, reverb, and delay, you can come up with some really neat things. So the distortion, it's a really aggressive distortion, so you probably want to be sparing with it, but just to give you an idea, so you can tell it really has some grit to it. And then if you wanted to introduce a little bit of delay, you can, let's take the time and let's say, okay, I want to go down to a 16th. I mean, just really, really cool. One thing I wish that they had done is to have given you a randomization button for each of the note values or the step values. You know, it can be a little bit cumbersome to go into each one of these individually and set it. But you know, that's a small grievance, if anything. You can go in and do it individually. It just would be nice to have a randomization button there. They did, however, include some pattern presets, which is nice. So you can go to the drop-down menu here, and you'll see you can, of course, tell it, okay, I want all 8th notes, all 16ths, which can not only be good for setting the note value across the board, but also if you want to set everything as, say, a 16th, except for a few quarter notes, well, instead of changing each one of these individually, you can just say, okay, make everything a 16th, and now I'll just change the few steps that I want to change. You can also mix them, so let's do that. I'm going to mix a sequence with triplets, the first one. I mean, that's just really neat. Okay, so you get an idea of how the engine works. Really cool, really fun. So now let's go ahead and look at some of the snapshot presets that they've included to give you an idea of some of the possibilities. I mean, that's a great, great clock. I mean, imagine if you threw some delay on there, some reverb. Let's turn the reverb up. Maybe put like a long delay on it. Just really, really cool. All right, let's look and how about creeping pattern? This is really aimed at the horror and tension genre, so you'll notice that a lot of the snapshots are really focused on that. Slow tension, weird clock, you know, intensity builder, creepy tiptoe, so they definitely sound like what they're aimed at. Let's do a couple more of these. How about we go to Intensity Builder? I mean, you can, these are so inspirational to me. I can just think of so many different ways to use these. They really can inspire, especially underscore. It's just really, really useful for that. And what's really cool is if you find something like this that you like and you go, gosh, I really like the sound of that. You know, if you wanted to go in and either change some note values, or if you wanted to go in and change some of the samples, like let's say that we just want to randomize a few of the samples, just here and there. And now we have an entirely new pattern. Just so easy, so simple. I'll go down here and randomize the tuning again, and let's see what that sounds like. And then do it again. I mean, you can see the possibilities are just really endless. You can play with this thing all day long. All right, let's do one more snapshot and then we'll move along to the other contact instruments. How about tension, grinds, and knocks? Very, very cool. So that is unstrung patterns. So let's go ahead and move over to the risers, and we'll get a sense of what the risers have in store for us. So with the risers, right now my DAW is set at 120 BPM, which is what the risers were actually recorded at. Of course, they time stretch to match your DAW's BPM, so that's not a problem. But just wanted to give you a sense of what they originally sounded like. And then these were all recorded at 8 bars, so they are very long risers that you can use. You'll notice that the orange notes here, the first one, the E here, is the one that's going to be the original sample. And then the rest of these, are pitch stretched to go up an octave. Within the engine itself, you have 3 different sound sources. Of course, you can control the volume, the panning, you can mute individual ones, solo individual ones. You've got your ADSR controls, low and high pass filter. So a lot of control over these. Obviously, you've got your arrows to cycle through different samples. You can also just click up and select those as well. And you've got 4 effects. So instead of just the reverb, delay, and distortion, they've also introduced a saturation here that you can use as well. So let's go ahead and try out some of these risers. So definitely aimed at that tension/horror genre, you can definitely tell. Now, again, you have a randomization option here. So randomization for the individual ones. I'll click that and I'll get a different one. Now, when you do randomize these, you'll notice that the controls themselves stay the same. Those are not getting randomized, just the sample. So let's listen to what happens when I've randomized that. Very, very cool. And again, I've done these individually. You can also just hit the button here, randomize all 3 at the same time. But it's really nifty to have that so that if you want to just continue to play until you find something that you like, you can do that. But if you like 2 of these and you don't like a third, but you don't want to sit here and just pick out one, you just want to keep randomizing until you find the right thing, you can do that. And in the process, you can solo or mute some so that you can, target the exact layer that you're trying to edit. So let's go ahead with saturation and distortion. Let's give you an idea of what saturation does here. So I'm going to turn it up so you can really hear it. I mean, the saturation really takes that up a notch. Love that. It's not as aggressive as the distortion, but it just gives it that extra little edge. So again, you've got the pan control. You pretty much can get familiar with this engine really quickly. That's one thing I love about it is it's not just simple, but it's just really easy to use and functional. It makes sense. It's laid out very nicely, and the randomization options are just really great. So let's go through some of the snapshot presets to give you an idea of what's in here. Let's start with Angry Dolls. So if you wanted to hear that, pitched up, let's just go to the E above that. We'll go one octave above where you can see that the highest version of that is, and let's compare it. So let's just say if you have kids in bed right now while you're listening to this, turn down your speakers. You don't want to creep out any of your family members. All right, so, and some of the names here, Call the Priest. Let's go to Chaotic Dream. And then just for fun, let's go ahead and randomize another one. I'm going to randomize it. I've got the saturation turned on. I'm going to turn on a little bit of delay. And you know what? Let's get really aggressive. We'll turn on the distortion. I'm going to turn it down. Actually, we'll turn it about there. Let's see what we have. Friends, that will wake up the neighbors. Wake them from their nightmares. All right, let's do one more before we move along to the hits. So how about Lonely Banjo? My son is learning to play the banjo right now, and let's just say that I have never heard that sound come from his banjo. That is really cool. Really, really cool. All right, so let's move along to the hits, and let's check those out. So with the hits, you've got 80 different whoosh effects, which the way this is set up is really cool. It took me a little bit to figure out exactly how this worked, but once I figured it out, it's super easy. You'll see you've got the one purple key. So the purple key is there just to play the hit. So when you hit that, you're only going to hear a hit. But if you play any of these other orange keys, you're going to hear a whoosh first, and then the hit will come right at the end in perfect timing. These are not tempo synced, so, but the perfect part is because that hit is always going to come at the end of the whoosh, you can obviously, drag that to put it exactly in your track where you need it to hit. I really like this because every single one of the whooshes are represented on an orange key, so all of these are different. So you'll hear as I hold down, we'll just go through a few of these to let you hear the whoosh, and then the hit will be the same every single time. So let's start with the hit. I mean, that right there, I could turn that into a cool tempo. I mean, you can do some fun stuff. So now let's start with a whoosh and then going into that hit. And a different one. Okay, and then again, the exact same things apply here as applied to the risers in the sense of how the controls work. Your 3 sound sources, randomization for each one individually, randomization for the group, ADSR, low pass and high pass filters, and again, you've got your individual controls here and the same effects apply. So I'm going to randomize and let's see what we get here. I mean, that is really, really cool. And the problem is, because I randomized it, I'll never find it again. So remember, you've got that feature in Contact where you can always save a snapshot. When you find something, when you find a happy accident while randomizing, remember to save a snapshot if you want to keep that one for later. Let's do another one. I mean, these are perfect for horror. Perfect. All right, let's go through some snapshot presets. Dirty hit. So let's play the hit first. And then a riser, or excuse me, a whoosh. Oh, that is dirty. I like that a lot. And how about grind scare? And maybe jump scare? 1. And you know what? I'm actually going to play, let's just see what this sounds like. I'm going to play the purple key and one of the whoosh keys at the same time, so you'll hear the hit at the beginning and the end. Let's see what that sounds like. That's pretty cool. Let's randomize another one and do the same thing. Kind of wild. All right, let's go to knock ping. It's got a nice sub in it. Yeah, a low hit. I was looking for a sub, but that definitely, it's got a very nice low sub sound. Low hit. Let's go down to, how about oddly low percussive? And Mr. Plunk. And how about squeaky unclean? And let's do one more. There's 3 below here that are off screen that unfortunately you can't see. Let's go to, how about high grind? Really neat, really neat. A lot of people make their hits, their risers in different ways, their whooshes in different ways, and obviously you can do a lot of that kind of thing yourself. But one of the things I love about a library like this is it's just so inspirational. You know, with all of the randomization features, number one, it takes a lot of the work out of it. You're not going around your garage and recording individual sounds and then running it through effects and manipulating it and all that stuff. And there's definitely a place for that. And I like doing that too. I think that's really it's always great to make some of your own custom sounds. But with an engine like this, what's great is instead of just static risers or static hits, you are actually customizing these. And even though you didn't create those samples, you're combining them in such a way that's unique to you. So you're coming up with a unique riser, you're coming up with a unique hit without getting out your recorder, without processing the effects yourself. Everything is right there for you. And I especially love this patterns. The hits and the risers are both cool, but to me, this is the cream of the crop of this library right here. These patterns, the fact that you can create just these really cool Very, very different rhythms, including, ricochets and screeches and, all of those kinds of things. To me, this is just an excellent library to have in your back pocket, especially when you're going to work on a horror film, a horror track, or you're going to work on something that's in the tension genre. It's just really right at home in that genre. So bravo to Fallout Music Group. Excellent library, excellent layout. Thanks for checking out Unstrung with me today. So what do you think? Is this something you would use in your own music? Do you like to create your own risers and hits, or do you primarily use libraries like this in your track? Comment below and let us know your thoughts. Please like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel. Also, be sure to check out SampleLibraryReview.com for more news, reviews, and to stay in the know about weekly sales via our weekly deal compressor.